December of 2021 was Coach Otzelberger's first Cyhawk game, and in that game, would Otz be content with just beating the team out east? No, he would not. Instead, the 2021 squad, led by Isaiah Brockington, would obliterate our rivals with a 20-point margin of victory. Otz's first time at the helm set a Cyhawk series record for largest win. Fast forward 2 years to last night. Otz's roster looks drastically different, with the lone exception of Robert Jones, but the result is the same. In Iowa State's 600th win at Hilton Coliseum, a 20-point margin of victory was not satisfactory. No. This team, yet again, set a record for largest margin of victory, defeating the team out east by dropping a 90-piece on them and winning by 25. The game was so dominant, in fact, that ESPN's announcers dubbed this game the Hilton Massacre. Let that be a name that Cyclone Nation never forgets. Today is December 8th, 2023. I'm Matt Menson, and welcome to the Cornfield Sports Pod. As always, I'd like to bring in my co-host, Blake Peterson.
Always. Now, going back to the ESPN announcers, they stayed silent through a great portion of the game because
You weren't going to hear them.
Yeah, exactly.
The crowd was so loud. It was great.
They found no point in trying to talk. It's like we're just gonna let these guys.
Well, it's hard to. Well, I mean, when they talk into the mics and they can't even be heard because the crowd is drowning them out so much, that says something. The environment there was so good last night. It was amazing.
I wonder if they even needed like a shotgun mic because we have to use those like whenever we're filming a game.
Not sure,
but I feel like the announcer mics just do the job just for that.
Yeah, no, it was the environment of the game was just absolutely spectacular. I mean, letting in all the students an extra hour and a half early too.
That is so nuts. Like whenever I first heard that, I'm like, understandably because they need to
they need to count everybody off because they weren't going to be able to let everybody into the building. But I mean, to let all of the students be rowdy inside the building for an extra hour and a half pre-game. That's like some psychological warfare type of stuff right there. That's what that is.
I mean, did the Hilton people have it coming?
I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter because we beat the Hawks, and that's what matters.
We beat the Hawks. But to anyone who camped out in front of Hilton, whether that's for women's basketball or men's basketball, you truly define the D1 college experience. You're tenacious in every way, and we are so happy to have every single one of you. So that's my appreciation.
Dude, there was such a great environment. And, I mean, the line, too, was a fantastic environment. We're all out there having a good time. It's better than, sitting in your dorm or your apartment waiting for the game. I mean, it's so much fun when you can go out there and, hang out with your group before the game.
Exactly.
And it's basically a tailgate, except it's in a line instead of in a parking spot. But aside from that, it's basically the same thing. And, I mean, that's the way to pregame these games.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. And, I mean, you just can't trade it for anything.
I know. Shout-outs to Cody for starting it all with women's basketball.
Dude, that was amazing. But let's dive into the basketball itself. Before this game, go back a little bit earlier in the week, the Associated Press, they're sleeping on Iowa State right now. They did not even receive a single vote in the last poll. Now, the coaches' poll did give Iowa State 23 votes. So they are on the radar, but the Associated Press is just missing right now. And after a dominant win on national TV over a Power 5 team, or I guess Power 6 team because it's basketball and not football, but I would not be shocked to see Iowa State ranked on Sunday when the next poll comes out. Yeah. And then, of course, dominant W versus the team out east.
Absolutely.
I mean, 90-65. I already said that's 25-point margin of victory, largest in Cyhawk history. It was absolutely amazing. Keyshawn Gilbert played the game of his life. He scored, was it 24, 25 points, something like that?
I think so. Also, Robert Jones, playing my favorite game that I've seen him play in.
Bob Jones. They had no answer for Bob Jones or Trey King or Keyshawn Gilbert.
Mm-mm.
there was nothing that they could do to stop them. All three of them were playing amazing games, and they were more physical by a lot. They had the size matchups in Iowa State's favor. I mean, all Iowa could really do to even try to slow them down was kind of hack at them, which explains why the foul numbers were what they were. There wasn't really a whole lot that Iowa could even do on defense in this game.
Yeah. The foul trouble was very noticeable. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, the foul trouble was noticeable, but, I mean, there's a reason for that. There wasn't a whole lot that Iowa could do to size us up on defense and, play clean defense the way that you would want to.
He's having little mic problems if you're noticing that.
But yeah, we're gonna be in this next week. We'll be playing Prairie View A&M. It'll be the first of 4 games versus no-name teams in a row in December. Florida A&M and Eastern Illinois and New Hampshire are all going to follow it up. Record padding won't hurt us before the Big 12 conference.
Oh no. We'll take what we can get.
No, some free wins will be nice, especially it'll make us look a lot better going into March. Definitely could boost our seeding and give us a better chance at advancing later on. So I will gladly take it for what it is.
Would you consider last night to be a free win?
Practically. Practically speaking, it was basically a free win. Iowa's not the team that they have been in the past, but when they don't have someone named Luka Garza or someone with the last name Murray on their roster, they didn't have a star to turn to. They didn't really have anybody that was there that could carry the team for them, and they didn't really have any sort of cohesiveness. They didn't have anything bonding that team together last night, whereas Iowa State just had everybody on fire. If you wanted to go to Bob, you could go to Bob. You wanted to go to Trey, you could go to Trey. You want to go to Keyshawn, you can go to Keyshawn. Taman didn't play a bad game either.
Oh, no, he didn't.
I mean, it was just a fantastic game all around from our boys in the Cardinal and Gold.
1 second, Taman's on the ground. We can hear the thud from the upper deck. Next thing you know, he's catching a ball all the way to the back of his head. He throws it to Gilbert.
That was an amazing play.
And that's a SportsCenter top 10 right there.
Oh, it definitely needs to be. That was a brilliant play.
Yeah.
And some of the buckets that Keyshawn and Trey were making last night were the kind of shot you just don't see people make those shots because they were so insanely hard, but they were falling for them. And you can't replicate that. When they're falling, and the boys were just on it last night.
Another play I wanted to point out was after Bob Jones was shooting free throws, all of a sudden we take it out of bounds because I think it was flagrant, and then next thing you know, Big Rob Energy, Robert Jones under the basket in for the dunk. I was like, this game's over.
Yeah, no, it was great. That was the only dunk Iowa State had on the night, even though we outnumbered them like 40-something to 16 or something like that in points in the paint. It was crazy.
The points in the paint, especially. Yeah.
The points in the paint differential was so absurd. I mean, didn't even have their second 2-point bucket until like 13 minutes into the game. They were completely surviving off of threes alone in the first half. And once those stopped falling for them, it was all over. Iowa State completely ran away with this game. And what was crazy is, like, even during the second half, Otts still looked unhappy because he's like, yeah, we should have been holding him to less points. Yeah, I mean, I love Otts for that. He's always striving to be better.
Nah, he always makes moves on the court. It's like,
yeah, he does. He's always striving to be, performing every little bit better though, and I mean that's what you want from a coach, to always be able to, take a look at something good and find a way to make it even better, because that's how you become the best. It's taking the good and making it better. Let's go to women's basketball real quick.
Please do.
Earlier in the week, they had a win versus UNC Wilmington.
I mean, yeah.
We can talk about that for a minute. Our girls played good in that one. It was against nobodies, but they played good.
I mean, yeah, we kind of need that one to get our minds off of the non-con tournament. So,
yeah, that the South Point shootout didn't go well, and UNC Wilmington was a nice bounce back game to get a win, but that bounce back did not last particularly long because Wednesday night was a rough game.
No. But you have to give it to our squad of young players.
They kept the game close.
You have to give it to them.
They kept the game a lot closer than I thought that they were going to. It was an ugly game.
Yeah.
It was an ugly game. It was slow. It didn't really seem like the kind of game that you wanted to see out of either team wanted to see. No. I think both teams probably wanted to play that game a little faster, and it's just the way it went.
Yeah.
But Emily Ryan still being out was painful for this team. I think that if Emily Ryan had been playing, that we probably would have won this game.
No.
But yeah. There was one point, fourth quarter though. This was one of the most aggravating moments I have ever seen in college basketball, women's or men's, any other situation. This was the officials just not even knowing the rules, because on 4 consecutive possessions, they called defensive fouls on Iowa State while we were on offense, which I don't know how you do that. How do you make that mistake even once, let alone 4 times in a row? It was pathetic. And most middle school refs can do better than that. That is an absolute shame. But I don't want to waste too much time on that. Caitlin Clark, I'm going to be honest, this is the first time I've watched her in person. I don't enjoy watching her. I really don't.
I'd say
I understand the Caitlin Clark hype because she's a better shooter than anybody else. But outside of being a good shooter, to be honest, I really wasn't that impressed.
No, there's really nothing. Because you see clip after clip of things that go against her, and then she's just not.
She's the poster child for special privileges. I mean, nobody else is going to get away with traveling in the paint as much as she does. Nobody else is going to get away with hooking and holding as much as she does. It's absolutely absurd what they let her get away with. And then anything that goes her way, or that doesn't go her way, if she gets benched for even 1 minute, she gets benched. And as she's walking to the bench, she tells Coach Bluter to put her back in. I'm sorry, you don't do that. That's poor sportsmanship. That's a lot of disrespect to your coach. You don't tell your coach how to coach.
That's not your decision to make.
You don't do that. And Caitlin Clark is, I know there's a lot of young girls that are looking up to Caitlin Clark as a role model. They should not be. Caitlin Clark is a poor sport. She has a lot of the success that she does because she gets away with things that other players wouldn't get away with, because she's the media's golden goose. So I don't have a whole lot of respect for that. The sport deserves better, because she's not a good sport about it.
Nah, you speak for a lot of us.
Yeah,
especially people here at this university.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on that ugly game. They're against Troy on Sunday evening.
Troy.
Yeah. Let's go back to good news. Wrestling. Cliff Keen Las Vegas invite.
Ooh.
We did win the team title.
Yes. On
24 matches with bonus points. We fared very well at the CK invite. And it was highlighted by Younger Bastida winning the individual heavyweight title over third-ranked Michigan's Lucas Davison. But as far as those 24 matches with bonus points, 5 of them were falls, 8 tech falls, 11 majors. They were out to score points today, and that's, well, not today. That was last weekend. They were out to score points, and that's exactly what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a lot of top 10 matchups. There's a lot of good teams that get invited to this tournament. So Evan Frost placing second, losing to first-ranked Kai Oren. Wild Feldkamp placing second, losing to number 1 ranked Parker Keckheisen. You're going to struggle to beat either one of those 2 wrestlers. and getting second to them is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It makes you look really well. And as long as you're competitive against them and not getting pinned or teched, you can mark that essentially as a quality loss.
Oh, yeah.
David Carr, unfortunately, did not take the title, only getting third. He did lose to number 4, Julian Ramirez, but he did win in the consolation final for that third-place bout against Cameron Amin, who's number 2nd ranked. This is going to make the 165-pound rankings interesting. I'm not really sure what exactly they're going to do with this. It'll be interesting to see what ends up actually happening. Casey Swiderski had losses to 2nd-ranked Kyle Parco and 4th-ranked Dylan D'Amelio. And Anthony Ecamendia had a loss to top-ranked Lachlan McNeil and number 5th-ranked Cale Happel. He did have a win by fall over 9th-ranked Cleveland Belton and a major decision win over 7th-ranked Vince Cornella. And then MJ Gaitan had losses to 3rd-ranked Cade DeVos and 7th-ranked Austin Murphy. And he also had a win by medical forfeit over the top-ranked Shane Griffith, so he didn't, really get a true win out of it, but
No.
it'll show up on his record, I guess.
Yeah, well, I just like how we're staying dominant, especially after the Cyhawk loss.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of top 10 matchups.
It really
and
is.
Getting to face that kind of competition at this point in the year, we got a few more duels yet before we get into the heart of conference play.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be good. They got a series of duels here coming up in like a week and a half or something like that. It's on a Monday, next Monday, not 3 days from now.
Mm.
But they're going to be consecutive duels, 3 of them in the same day, and they're all going to be streaming on Rockfin. So hopefully they perform well against them. They're going to be having duels against some pretty high-ranked teams. I don't remember who all was in that. I think Cornell was one of them, though, so that should be an interesting duel. But Blake, I believe it's time for high-speed wins.
And high-speed wins.
I love high-speed wins.
We do love high-speed wins.
Give me some high-speed wins.
First of all, let's take a little snippet at volleyball. I know there's not much with volleyball going on, but Nayeli Gonzalez gets Midwest Freshman of the Year. Add that to the ever-growing honors.
Yes, that's pretty much all there is with Nayeli right now. Yeah. Or with the rest of the volleyball team right now with the season being done.
But add that to the ever-growing list of honors that she will get.
Yeah. As for the rest of high-speed wins.
Mm-hmm. As for the rest of high-speed wins, Cyhawk swimming is happening tonight at Beyer Hall at Iowa State. We'll give the results next week to those who are too lazy to check the results on Insta, but you still decide to listen to me. So the Cyhawk series currently, the team out east has wins in soccer, football, wrestling, and women's basketball. We have volleyball, both cross-country teams, and now we have men's basketball. Score is 9-8 in the series. Right now, football is worth 3. That should be noted. That's why they're leading by 1. So right now, there's still swimming, gymnastics, tennis, and softball that need to be played to end out the series. So I have high hopes for swimming because we were dominant last year. I don't foresee any more changes this year.
And in order for Iowa State to win the series, it's going to require us to win 3 out of this last 4 because if we split the series, then the team out east will win the series by 1 point.
Yeah. Softball, I'd say, is a toss-up. Gymnastics is a toss-up. Tennis should be dominant because like if you've seen tennis last year, there has been many changes to tennis this year.
I was going to say we had a coaching change, didn't we?
We did have a coaching change, and a lot of tennis people transfer, but I'm sure we're still dominant.
All right. Let's go to pro sports real quick. We don't have a whole lot to talk about with the NFL right now, considering the Vikings and the Bears just got off their bye week. But the Vikings will be at the Raiders this week. I would think that they're able to get a win against the Raiders. I don't really trust the Raiders to win as far as I can throw them.
Oh no,
But
Raiders are mid.
if the Vikings can solve their turnover problem, I think they can walk out of this one. It's not a guaranteed win by any means, but having Justin Jefferson slated to return will definitely help them.
Yep.
It's never hurts to have a weapon on the offense.
Mhm.
So, Bears also coming off the bye. They're going to be against the Lions. So
Watch the Lions lose this one. Detroit, if he loses this one, oh my gosh.
no, Detroit's not going to lose this one. Demo's going to walk all over him. Yeah, no, Demo's going to walk all over him. That's pretty much all there is to really be said about that, unless Tyson Bagent decides to play a bizarrely good game or something for Chicago, which I guess we can't even rule that out at this point. Because Chicago keeps finding a way to surprise us with wins that don't make any sense. So at this point, yeah, I guess you can't really rule it out, even though I'm ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out, but Detroit's going to win, I think. You can tell I'm being indecisive. All right. Green Bay, I don't like you. You beat Kansas City.
No, why'd you do that to Matt?
Yeah. Don't beat my Chiefs like that. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah. No. I'm mad at you, Green Bay.
I don't know. What does Green Bay bet on these past few games? Because, NFC North is really that mid to make any sense right
The
now.
Green Bay Packers, collectively as a team, are on whatever Aaron Rodgers is on to fix his Achilles. Because no, the Green Bay went from being terrible to being 500 now, and they're going to be at the Giants this week. So they're going to be above 500 after this week, almost certainly.
I think the Packers wanted some of that. But no, this past game with Kansas City, the game stats were pretty balanced, with both teams, because both teams had the ball for almost the exact same time, the exact
first downs was only one difference.
Yeah.
Total yards was almost entirely the same.
Yeah.
Kansas City had a little bit more in the run game, but they had less in the pass game, so it balanced out. I mean, the biggest difference that I saw was that Green Bay did not turn the ball over in that game, and Kansas City did.
Yep, just once.
Just the one turnover, but that can be the difference maker.
It
And
really can be.
when you look at the team stats for this game, it was closer than what the score indicated. 27-19. I mean, that is still a one possession game to at least get it to overtime, but it doesn't really look all that close. But when you look at the team stats, this was actually a very tight game.
Yeah.
But Kansas City just could not finish. And going into this week, the Chiefs are not going to have Isaiah Pacheco. He has been ruled out as of the injury report earlier today. So he's already been missing a few practices. I hope to see him back next week, but it's going to be a little bit difficult not having him this week because he is the heart of that ground game.
Yep. Depends on how bad the injured shoulder is. So
yeah, which hopefully it's nothing too serious, but we'll find out more definitely in the next week or so. And against the Bills, the Chiefs need a bounce back game, and they can't continue to allow the sacks that they have been. That was one of the problems that they had against Green Bay too, is that they allowed 3 sacks, and those sacks are drive killers.
Yep.
Especially if they happen, you start marching down the field a little bit, and if you have a sack that takes you out of field goal range or something like that, then you just put on a whole bunch of work. You wasted a whole bunch of time. You got a bunch of yards. It all went for nothing. So you can't allow sacks, and don't shoot yourself in the foot with penalties. Both teams had a handful of penalties in that last game, but that's something that the Chiefs can definitely fix. Just better performance from the offensive line. Basketball. NBA, Timberwolves.
I got you for the Timberwolves. Previously, they had wins against the Hornets and the Spurs. They're currently on a 5-game winning streak, although Spurs did kind of give them a little scare. They do continue to stay dominant through the Northwest standards.
Yeah, I saw ESPN release their power rankings. Was it yesterday or today? And they've got the Timberwolves up to second on there right now. I mean, their defense is just smothering. They play better defense than anybody in the league, and it's not even remotely close.
Yeah, this past game was a little bit more of a less scoring game.
A lot of their games are low scoring. This is what the identity they built this team on.
Yeah. So upcoming, they got at the Grizzlies, at the Pelicans, and at the Mavericks. So they'll be traveling a lot.
All right, Milwaukee Bucks in the last week wins versus the Hawks, just regular season game. Knicks was the in-season tournament quarterfinal. They won that game. They put on an offensive clinic, winning that game 146 to 122, and that's a regulation score, 146 points in regulation. They were not missing shots that night. And then just yesterday, lost to the Pacers, 128-119, which sets up a Pacers-Lakers final for the NBA Cup. Now, I enjoyed this game very much because, as y'all know, I'm a Bulls fan. So seeing the Bucks lose puts a smile on my face. And seeing ISU alum Tyrese Haliburton put the dagger in the game over the Bucks just made it even better. It was pure joy. I enjoyed that moment a lot. And I'm really enjoying seeing Haliburton perform well, game in, game out over the course of the year. He's making a case to be the NBA MVP this year. And if Brock Purdy keeps playing well at the San Francisco 49ers, as their quarterback, we could see the possibility of having the NBA and NFL MVPs from the same school for the first time ever. Because they would be both from, right here in Iowa State. So that would be an incredible thing for Iowa State to be able to claim, having NBA and NFL MVPs in the same year.
Now come to Iowa State. I don't see the team out east coming at us like that.
Nope. And then upcoming for the Bucks, they've got games versus the Bulls and Pacers in this next week. That Pacers rematch will be interesting. I kind of don't think the Bucks are going to lose that one. The Bulls also won their last game against the Bucks, so I think the Bucks might be a little bit mad at the Bulls too. The Bucks are probably going to win the next couple games. Bulls in their previous week win versus the Pelicans and win versus the Hornets. They'd also had a win versus the Spurs prior to that. It's a nice change of pace for me to actually see the Bulls winning some games, to actually get consecutive games 3 in a row. This is the first time all season they have 3 wins in a row, and I'm enjoying it. Is it going to continue much longer? Probably not. Now they're going to be playing the Spurs again here, so they will probably get a win there. But after that, they got the Bucks and the Nuggets, and I don't see any way that the Bulls don't lose to either of those teams. They'll also have a game against the Heat after that. And Zach LaVine's going to be out another 3 to 4 weeks with his foot injury. So it's going to be a rough stretch probably for the Bulls here coming up. Let's talk some hockey. Minnesota Wild here in the last week wins versus the Blackhawks 4-1 and at the Flames 5-2 before losing to the Canucks, getting shut out 2-0. So, I mean, right when it seemed like they finally figured out offense, they get shut out. I guess that's hockey, though. There's just randomness to it, and that's one of the things that'll happen. But things are moving in the right direction for them after their coaching change.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely good news for them. Upcoming they've got a game at the Oilers, at the Kraken, and versus the Flames. The Chicago Blackhawks here in this last week lost at the Jets 3-1, lost at the Wild 4-1, lost versus the Preds 4-3, and then finally beating the Ducks 1-0. Seriously, you're gonna get a win, and it's gotta be against my Ducks. Do better, or not. Don't do better. Just
be bad.
Beat the other teams, but lose to the Ducks. Do that for me. No. The Blackhawks now have the worst record in the NHL. They've somehow fallen behind the Sharks. Explain to me how that one works. I mean, the Sharks are bad. You look at the point differential between the Sharks and the Blackhawks. Now, the Sharks have what is far and away the worst point differential in the NHL. I think it's -56, and the Blackhawks is -29. Blackhawks is second worst. That's how big the disparity is right now in point differential. It's insane. Vinny's back there shaking his head at me. Yeah, no. The Sharks are a very bad team right now. They can't play defense. They've allowed like 111 something goals on the year.
No.
And the Blackhawks they're not the next worst on defense. There are teams that they're getting close to that 100 goals allowed threshold already. But
they beat the Ducks.
yeah, no. Sorry. Don't do that. Don't beat the Ducks. Let the Ducks win. The Ducks need wins. Yeah. The Blackhawks offense, though, the reason their point differential is so bad is the Blackhawks offense. It's pitiful. Only 60 goals so far in the season. That's really, really bad. And then upcoming, they've got chances to right the ship here against the Blues and the Capitals before taking a road trip to Edmonton and playing the Oilers. We'll see what ends up happening for them.
I got you for Blues. Previous week, they had a loss against the Coyotes and the Golden Knights, but they did have a win against the Golden Knights earlier in the week. Now, the last loss to the Golden Knights, 6-3. This last one, St. Louis came to play like right at the beginning, and then I feel like they just fell asleep. They fell asleep second and third periods because I feel like they decided to put up half as many shots as Vegas.
Well, when you can't get the puck on the other side of the ice in order to get shots off, when you're constantly in your defensive zone, the dynamic in that game just wasn't going well. They were being outskated the entire game. So, but yeah, stacked division.
Yeah, they are a stacked division. Third to last in the division with a winning record. It's like I don't really hear that very often, but they are right behind Nashville and Arizona.
Yeah, they're right behind Arizona. If they'd beat Arizona, they'd be ahead of them.
Yeah.
But no, they lost in Arizona's, makeshift ice arena at Arizona State that holds like 3,000 people because there is no actual large arena in Arizona that wants them or can hold them because Desert Diamond Arena doesn't want them. Glendale don't want them. And then while in theory they can fit in the Footprint Center in Phoenix, that arena was designed to be basketball only, and the viewing angles for hockey there are atrocious. They have to block off some of the seating because the second deck overhangs. Yeah. So
imagine not being liked by your own state to have hockey.
I'm interested to see what the possibilities are for Arizona potentially moving to another city and leaving the Phoenix metro.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they relocated.
There's been some interesting talks as far as potential cities that they might go. Salt Lake City's been thrown around a bit. Houston is one that I think I've found particularly intriguing, as well as Kansas City and Atlanta. And Atlanta, yeah, Vinny's back there telling me he wants Atlanta back. Atlanta would be an interesting one to bring back, although Atlanta struggled to support an NHL team twice now, so I'm not really sure that NHL wants to try that one a third time. But Houston would be an interesting one to see if they want to try to throw one down there. It's one of the largest media markets in the country, so that would be an interesting spot. Kansas City's got a great arena that they can hold it in, and it's a pro sports town. They love the Royals and they love the Chiefs down there, so they theoretically might be able to take an NHL team and build it into a decent franchise. SLC's been clamoring for one. I don't really know a whole lot about SLC's arena, whether or not it can hold. I would assume if they want it real bad, it must be able to hold an ice sheet. It must not be a basketball-only facility. But we'll see what ends up happening with the Coyotes, because right now I can't see them staying in Arizona for long. They're not going to stay financially feasible playing at Mullet Arena.
No, they will never thrive off of that.
They won't be able to. You have to have ticket sales, and they just can't sell enough tickets at Mullet Arena to be viable. So, but that'll be That'll be an interesting thing to wait out here and see what ends up happening with the Coyotes. Because if they were to move to Kansas City, well, then we'd have another team to cover here on the Cornfield Sports Pod.
Oh,
so,
really?
And that would certainly shake things up. So
bring their fan base into
right to
make them listen to us.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I was trying to say.
That's an idea right there. But yeah, let's close the show out with that. Follow the Cornfield Sports Pod on Twitter at CSportsPod. Find Blake
At Blake Attack 1846.
You can find me at the Menson Minute, and of course, find Vinnie at ViniciusD23. Tap that follow button on Spotify or that plus button on Apple. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Rumble.
This is Blake Peterson.
I'm Matt Menson. Our producer is Vinnie Cataldo, and this has been the Cornfield Sports Pod.